so much for allowing us to capture you now. And if we could go ahead and just introduce yourself, that'd be really good.
My name is Dhivya. I'm currently working as a nurse in South Florida. I'm doing the COVID testing with CVS Pharmacy. Before that, I was in Philadelphia. I was working in student health as a nurse practitioner. Yeah. And before that, before my nursing degree, I studied biochemistry. I thought I was going to do research. Then I realized that I didn't want to do research. I wanted to help people be in face-to-face interactions. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's just like a path that you're on, and that's beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
So, where are you now? This time, like right now in life.
Uh, so what does that mean, like emotionally,
It could be.
psychologically,
What are you
financially? I don't
emotionally?
know.
It could be anything. What are you in life right now?
um, I think right now in my life, I've realized that, oh my gosh, I'm 30, you know? And I don't know if you've seen Father Mike Schmidt's video. He talks about like comparing life to a clock, you know? And like when you're 30, it's like 1 o'clock in the day, you know? So like if you imagine like at 1 o'clock, you feel at 1 o'clock at the day, you're not wondering like what should I be doing, right? You're thinking, oh my gosh, like whatever I need to do, I need to do it, because it's going to be evening, and then I'm going to get tired, and then it's nighttime. And I feel like I'm in the same thought pattern now in my life, you know? Like I've kind of explored different things, and I still have many interests, but I'm at this point where, you know, I feel like I want to settle, I want to like start doing more, you know? Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so you spoke about about the clock time wise. Why is it that you are a bit, anxious a bit because of this particular age? That what is it about it?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, I think before this, I thought, you know, age is just a number, you know, and I think to some extent it is, you know, but then I'm also facing certain physical realities too, where it's like, yeah, like I don't have the same energy that I had, you know, in my 20s, you know. I also, the people around me are making certain decisions about their lifestyle, and moving along with that, you know. So there's that environment too that also plays a part. um and yeah, just like realizing that, okay, I am starting to feel certain effects, like physical effects, and it is going to have, it's not going to get better, you're going to experience more, you know. And so how do I work with that reality, you know? Like, I think something that really hit home for me is someone said, like, you know, we have to think about time as like, that it has boundaries. I think for a good part of my life, I've been thinking of time without boundaries, you know, like, oh, like it's almost like it's unlimited. And when you feel like time is unlimited, then I think that you are also slower to take action, you know. And so now I'm trying to think about time as being finite, you know, and like, yeah, you have a limited amount. So what can you do with that time? Yeah. I don't think that really hit home for me, I think, before. Like people would tell me this, but I don't think it really hit home for me before. Yeah.
So what do you do now as you make it finite? How will you make every second count?
Um, that's a good question. I'm figuring it out. I'm taking it more and more seriously to plan my day the night before, you know, to be better about scheduling my like events, my week, Um, that's one thing. And then to make every moment count, I think it's trying to be mindful and be in the moment. Because, as much as I say, like I would want to do more, I think the kind of stuff that I want to do is not like things that necessarily can be measured or quantified or stuff. It's I want to be like I want to give, but I don't think give means like actual physical things or things like that. I want to be fully present to the person who's in front of me. I want to be beneficial. Like I want to add to the people's lives of those around me. And so I think part of that, yes, being fully present is important. Also like be doing some taking care of myself too, like doing some self-care, um and then also and being kind to myself, and at the same time also then try doing just enough so that I am able to be present to people, because there's like a fine balance that I'm still working out, where taking care of myself but then also giving back to people, and not being fully surrounded with myself and my problems and stuff. Yeah.
So it does make sense. It made lots of sense. And you said taking care of yourself. So how do you want to go about doing that? Mentally and also so um physically as well too. You want to go about doing that.
Yeah. So I'm really trying to exercise regularly. That has a huge impact on my energy and my mood as well. So I'm trying to exercise regularly. Um, with mentally, I think I'm recognizing I am pretty introverted, so recognizing how much time do I need for myself, to recharge, and then also then pushing myself to be around people or communicate with people. That doesn't always come naturally to me, so it's like a work in progress to keep doing that. Um, yeah, that's mentally. And then also reflecting, having time for reflection in the day is very important for my mental health. Yeah.
Okay. As a medical professional,
Mm-hmm.
how does healthy mindset and healthy physical being affect you as a medical professional? How does it? Do you
Like how is like my own health, like healthy lifestyle behaviors and mindset affect me as a healthcare professional, as a nurse? Okay. So I really think being in healthcare, you need to be strong to last in this field. And I think part of being strong is, taking care of your health, being healthy. So that's the key. Like, it's not just your physical health that plays a part. It's how you process things. That's also, we can be so unkind to ourselves. We can be so like we can bully ourselves, which is not really helpful in a very demanding or challenging profession, where you are also asked to be kind to people, on the regular, and I just think that that's going to be hard if you don't practice it yourself. Yeah. It's almost like you wouldn't even think of showing a certain level of kindness or understanding if you don't start with that for yourself. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so as a medical professional, right now, what is your role?
Well, what is my role? So right now I'm doing like a testing for COVID, you know. Um, I think my role is to um, be, excuse me, like make sure that I can answer questions that patients have regarding COVID, and you know, sometimes they'll ask me about like you know what they should do about certain symptoms or things like that, or they'll share some of their fears. So to stay up to date and so that I can inform them and educate them. Um, uh, Other than that, I think it's you know trying to make it as pleasant and an experience as possible, so people would want to come again. You know, like it's a good thing that people are getting tested and getting vaccinated, and um, I think it would be even better if we can make that experience as pleasant as possible, so that they won't feel like they're being penalized for you know doing these things. Yeah. So that's that's
Okay, and how is it affecting you?
my work. How is it
Yeah.
affecting me? Um, I don't think it affects me too much. I think actually I find a lot of joy in what I'm doing right now, um, because I get to talk to people a little bit and you know in some way help them. And I also like the people who I'm working with. Like I work by myself for the testing part, but I'm in this CVS store, and so the people who are staffing the store, who are staffing the clinic and the pharmacy, I just think that they're just such a great group of people. So it's great to be around them and you know work with them, and I you know so that's yeah. And it's also so far not so stressful that I'm able to do other things. This is something that I picked up um, while I try to kind of transition my focus. So I've always been interested in mental health, and as I try to transition towards that field, um, this is a job to kind of pay my bills until then. Yeah.
But why is it? I'm gonna go back to the statement that you made earlier. Why we say it is important that people will get tested or get vaccinated?
Why is it important? Um, I think it's important because it gives a sense of it is so everyone around themselves can be safer. You know, can be safer from this virus, which does have consequences. You know, um, yeah. So that's one of the main things, is to protect the people who are also vulnerable, you know. It's the thing is like we don't live in an island, you know. And our actions count, our you know our thoughts, our actions count. And I think a lot of people don't realize just how much they matter and how much their actions matter. And so when people choose to get tested, when people choose to get vaccinated, they're making a very in like important stance to not only just protect themselves but protect others.
Oh, you talk about the importance of testing and being vaccinated. What if others don't want to get vaccinated? What like how would you try to try to correspond to their wishes?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had too much of a dialogue with people who are do not wish to get that vaccinated. So I think it's individual. I would consider what that particular person has, their concerns with vaccines. I think just thinking about it, I can at least empathize with the fact that, you know, most people don't get a lot of vaccinations, especially if they're pretty healthy. They may not even get the annual flu vaccine. So then their last vaccination was probably when they were 18 years old. And so and that at that point they were probably made to do it in order to get to school or college or whatever it is. But now when they have to think about it and do it out of their like own choice, well, now the choice is getting limited again. But when they have to choose whether, okay, like, do I want to get vaccinated or not, and they're naturally gathering the evidence to make that decision. It's scary. It can be scary, especially if you don't fully understand how the vaccine works, or if you don't and also just like the side effects, right? Even though it's rare, certain of those side effects are substantial. They're significant. So sometimes it's hard to not think, what if that's me who gets that, right? So I can empathize with that. But I think there's like um, so yeah, it would have to be just an individual basis, for that conversation. Yeah.
So can you tell us like how does the vaccine of the C-19, how does it actually like benefit individual? How does it is it like for depending on like an unvaccinated person or the vaccinated person, what is the significant difference?
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So a vaccinated person versus an unvaccinated person. So a vaccinated person, if they were to get COVID, because they can still get COVID, their symptoms are less severe, because their body, it's almost like your body is primed for for the virus or something similar to it. So if it recognizes something similar to what it's basically on the lookout for, it responds quickly, and so it's able to decrease the virus count in our body, much quicker. Whereas in an unvaccinated person, if they were to get COVID and they're, young and relatively healthy, maybe most likely, it'll be like a regular cold and it'll pass out of their system. But if they're not, you know, and even the young and healthy have also had severe COVID symptoms. So the unvaccinated are more likely to face the severe symptoms of COVID, you know. And then added on to that is they they're they're also more likely to transmit it, to other people. Yeah. Because the body's still not yet not in yet pulling its immune system completely to fight it. If that makes sense. There are better people who can explain this than me, but that's my simplified version of it. Yeah.
Okay, so even if you are vaccinated, you still can receive the COVID. So so then so then you will tell those who aren't vaccinated, even though they can receive the COVID when they do get vaccinated, they should still get vaccinated because they have some symptoms,
Less severity. Yeah.
severe
So
symptoms.
yeah, this could be the difference of having a bad cold and staying home, for a bad cold, or being in the hospital, or it could even just be the difference between maybe having like one day of a sore throat and versus like several days of a bad cold. That's like the vaccine can make that difference, because you
As
just don't
a
know. Yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You just don't know how you will respond, how severely you will respond to the virus.
Okay.
Mm.
So I'm gonna play opposite position right here and just say like so if a person doesn't want to get vaccinated and then they come to get like swayed to get vaccinated
Mhm.
and they speak with whomsoever, let's just say like anybody, any professional in the medical field, and then then they say like, so even if I do get vaccinated, I can still get sick. So what is the why should I even try to get vaccinated? And what would you tell you do to convey them to get vaccinated?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I will remind them that, I mean, it is really, if you do not want to get vaccinated, I hear you, um, it is, you do have control over what you choose and to put in your body, you know. Um, so let's talk about what your concerns are with getting the vaccine, you know. Um, and then is there any are there any reasons why you would consider getting the vaccine, you know? And if there are some reasons, okay, let's also talk about that along with your concerns, you know. And then if there and then let's evaluate from there, you know. I think yeah, it is each person has their own reason for why they are not getting vaccinated, you know. And I can understand the fear also to some extent, you know. It's like um, fear of something that you may get or may not get, right? Versus the fear of something that you're actively choosing to take, you know, like which is like the vaccine you're actively choosing to take. Um, yeah, so that's the approach I would take for that.
All right, so this will be the last question on this particular topic.
Mhm.
And so many people who are religious
Mhm.
are concerned of how the vaccine was created, as
Yeah.
in like with the baby's part and so forth. And so how could you explain to religious and those who do not wish to take the vaccine because of those particular reasons, what would you say to them
Mhm.
about getting vaccinated, even though it may step on the boundary of their belief?
Um, so for those who are religious, and I come from a Catholic background, so um, I know for the development of the vaccine, fetal tissue was used, fetal tissue from aborted babies. Um, yeah, I believe that's what I heard, and that is really unfortunate how it was, that's the reality. um and but I think what gives me some peace about choosing the vaccine from a religious perspective is that the Pope had recommended that we take it according to our conscience. We take it. We The vaccine is okay to get. I mean, with the caveat that we also speak up against, how it was being made, right? We don't want more vaccines being made by, like the dead tissue of human beings, that really should still be alive, that but yeah, so I don't, that's what gives me some peace about getting it from that perspective, yeah. Because it's also like when you think about ethical and issues, right? Yes, um like the babies were not killed for this purpose. They were killed for other reasons. Still, we're using, using their tissue to develop the vaccine. And I'm not a great ethicist, so I'm not really going to broach it, but um, we're also getting the vaccine though to protect and help people. Like there is that effect on with the vaccine. So we're talking about lives also, so, and protecting life. Um, so, and that includes like a mother with a baby. The more people that get vaccinated, pregnant women with babies are also going to be more protected. Little infants are also going to be protected. The elderly who are more vulnerable to illness are also going to be protected, better protected. So, yeah.
Okay, we stuck on a lot about the vaccine because it's like it's a big topic around this time, this current year and so forth. And so I did say that would be the last question about the vaccine, but I do have one more before we go on. And
Yeah.
it's just to wrap that particular section up. It's like what we got from this particular scenario, from this particular section was that the vaccine doesn't prevent you from getting COVID. It just, in a way, may eliminate the severity of the symptoms that is within the COVID if you do catch it. And even if you do if you do have the vaccine, it can still be passed on to another person.
That I am actually not completely sure about. I need to get updated on that. But usually, there are like different phases of an infection, and typically for a viral infection, you are most contagious in the beginning, when the virus is duplicating so many copies and your body just can't catch up in defending, um, in fighting the viral cells. So when you have a vaccine on board, and this is just me speaking, yeah, that, again, without looking things up or anything, I'm just sharing my thoughts. But with the vaccine on board, you already have your immune system primed, so it's like when you do get exposed to the virus, your body is going to give a bigger response. So if you are infectious, I don't believe you'll be infectious as long, as if you were, completely unexposed getting COVID, or completely unvaccinated getting COVID. Yeah, but that I need to verify that. That's just my understanding of viral infections. Yeah.
Okay, so we understand, like, we're also sure about if being vaccine, you can still the COVID can still be transferred to another person. But we do understand that even though the vaccine is created through the dead cells of of babies, although it wasn't like the initial reason why this baby was taken away. The cells are still like being used. So that's the gist of it. Like the bodies, the cells of babies are being used to like in this vaccine, and there's a good there's a good behind this ugliness is like what I got from this section is that even though the cells baby was killed, the cells are being used to protect lives, and that's why as a pro-lifer or a Catholic, um you will you will like say like that's a good thing because it protects old people, mothers who are expecting, and young children and so forth. Am I right? That's the gist of it.
Um, yeah, I think. Um, yeah, I think I want to reiterate. Like, um, it's equally important that we fight for not for vaccines to not be continue to be made. By fetal tissue. Um, and it's also, I think it's just important to recognize like the the aborted fetuses, they were not aborted for the purpose of creating the vaccines. There was a very complex, and very decision process that went into it. Um, but yeah, so if people were if we were to start aborting fetuses or something like that for the specifically for the purpose of vaccines, then that's also completely different, right? Complete. And even if the vaccine is super helpful for people, I think it would add an extra element of, you know, um, contradiction with our faith. But yeah, but because this wasn't the intent of it, you know, and the intent was a good intent, which is to create something to protect people. Yeah, it's a that's why I think the church has allowed for it, you know.
I mean, do what you feel is good for you per se. Don't feel like you're obligated to do what other people should tell you to do, but at least you have the gist of like the vaccine to understand what the vaccine may or may not do for you. So do a thorough research and don't just allow people to tell you to do things or do not do things. You focus and understand what it is that you're doing these things and know it's for the benefit of yourself and also for others. And so with no further ado, we go to the next section. So so as a medical professional, how do you see yourself advancing throughout your journey?
How do I see myself advancing in my journey? Um, as I mentioned, I do want to transition more to work with the mental health field. Um, I I am trained primarily. I'm trained for primary care, so I would like to also work in primary care, but mostly in the geriatric population. Um, yeah, and working with chronic care conditions. Um, I want to put more effort into being a part of public health initiatives that improve health. Like cooking classes or like programs that promote physical activity, things like that. So yeah, my ideal would be to like work in a clinic that's very involved in its neighborhood or community, so that so the professionals themselves, and there's a program called like walk with the doc, so you're basically walking with a doctor, and asking them questions, things like that. Like I really like um, the possibility of dialogue that can happen there. You're doing something good for both of you, like getting exercise, you know. So that's where I would like to eventually end up in terms of my practice.
What is primary care?
Primary care is, you know, when you think about going to the doctor and you don't see you're not going for a specialist. That's usually a primary care doctor or an internal medicine doctor. They they do they see they're usually the first stop unless you have an emergency, you know, something life threatening. And if you have an established primary doctor, they would be able to guide you and say like you need to go to the ER for this. But yeah, there are telehealth providers now who can also help you with that.
So what about primary care that intrigued you?
Um, I think one is because I could work with the different ages, all the different ages. Um, Initially, that was a draw for me. Um, it's also it being involved in life in health conditions that affect everybody, and so, and some of it, a lot of our illnesses, especially as we progress in age, is due to lifestyle. And so it's always been an interesting challenge for me, for personally, and how to adopt healthier lifestyle habits, and how can I encourage others also around me to do that. Yeah, so it's always been an interesting question for me to work on.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. And where did you see yourself within 5 to 6
Where do I see myself in 5 to 6 years? Um, okay, so I haven't completely given up the idea of becoming a religious sister. So in 5 to 6 years, maybe I'll be a sister in a convent, and I'll be serving the poor, you know, working with homeless populations. Um, or I will be married, and I will be married to a man who also really wants to work and serve the poor. And we'll be doing that together, along with having raising a family that is open to service and open to trying to discern what God has for their life, you know, wants for their life. Yeah, that would be in 5 to 6 years. I would love that. Well, I mean, I would love that sooner. I'm actively trying to make a decision regarding that, whether pursuing religious life or married life. Yeah, but you know, in either way, I just know that I have this desire to go to people who are sort of like on the outskirts of society, and I see that as people who are homeless, you know, people who are suffering with a mental illness, um, people who are elderly oftentimes suffer from a lot of, you know, loneliness. So yeah, I just continuing to work with these populations and being and creating more of sense of a community for them. And for that, that's what I mean when I say like you need to be. I feel like it's very important to be in the moment, because you don't know when that opportunity can come, you know, or will come. Yeah.
So, what made you want to discern both into the religious life?
Um, I think it was a draw because I wasn't I was born and raised Catholic, but I didn't really believe in it until after college when I was 23. I had a year worth of experiences at that time, that helped me come back to the Catholic Church. And it was really an encounter and realizing that Jesus was an actual person, God is a person, and actually maybe a person I would like to get to know. And after having that experience, I have just desired to live more radically, because you know over that year I realized a lot of assumptions that I have had about life that also directed the actions that I took were not based on sound on good things, and it was actually hurting me. And so we're just realizing that maybe someone else knows better than I do and how to live my life. That was actually a big thing for me to accept that. you know um yeah, and so since having that experience, I just wanted to live a life where people who look at it will be able to say, like, oh, there is something different here, like this person wouldn't live a life like this if she didn't believe in God or in Christ, you know yeah.
That's beautiful. That's good. And how are you also discerning into the lay life with a husband and family? How are you discerning into that?
Yeah, I'm kind of like dipping my toes in that, because this is kind of new for me to discern that area more seriously. So I am like, I signed up for some like dating websites, marriage websites. I need to work on my profiles on each of them. And I've, I've, you know, I think that's basically the step that I've taken. I've also shared my feelings with certain people, and to see if it can work out. So far, it didn't work out. It's okay. Um, yeah. So that's how I'm discerning. It's basically okay taking a step. So what is my next step? So my next step was to take a profile, like create profiles. Next step is to actually respond to people who've messaged back to me, or start messaging back, like these little small steps. Yeah, that's how I'm doing it. And in this process, I also have a spiritual director. Um, so yeah, who's also helping me as I make this decision.
Okay. Wow, that's both paths are both sounds adventurous and bountiful because like either way they both will still lead you to the ultimate goal of being with Christ.
Yeah.
That's so that's really good and I'm rooting for you as I'm rooting for you for either path that you embark on. I will be like cheering for you because that's just it's a great journey. It's a great path. It's a great great as a whole. So how have your family encouraged you throughout your journey to your now?
Hmm. My parents have um, always like religion. Religion is really important to them. So I think at least for these past few years, they've been really trying to give me the space to um, look into the option of religious life, even though it is a little, scary for them. It is scary for them. Um, and I have an older brother too, and he doesn't really believe in these, in these things, and so I think it's even harder for him. But he also is, I don't know, they are trying to be understanding, and trying to give me the time and the space that I desire in order to pursue this decision. Yeah.
Okay, so what would you tell 26-year-old Divya?
A 26-year-old Divya?
Yeah.
Wow. That feels like it's not too long ago. So I don't know.
Let's
Um,
do that back. Let's do a 16-year-old Divya.
a
Yeah.
16-year-old Divya. I would tell her to go to a college that is not out of state, and that is not, so you can bank on those in-state tuition fees. I would recommend, what else would 16-year-old do? I would also just encourage her to do some things that she likes, and to keep at it. And to also let her know that she is capable of doing things and doing great things. And it's, what she's thinking, what she's dreaming, what she's hoping for is not wrong. And it's a gift. I think, that encouragement would be good. Yeah.
What will you tell a future you within, like, let's say 20 years? What will you tell a future you?
Oh, 20 years, I'll be 50. I don't know what I would say to a 50-year-old me. I think I would ask questions from them. I'll ask them, are you happy? You know, how do you feel like you've changed? Are you doing what you said you wanted to do? All those things. Yeah. I would have grown as a person. Yeah.
It's good. And if you are able to speak any languages, could you
Mhm.
give an inspirational quote in those language that you are fluent in?
I don't know if I can say an inspirational quote in Malayalam or Spanish, and I only know a little bit of Spanish. Uh, uh,
Make a one for your, like, something that you inspiration. You don't gotta like somebody famous. Make your own. Like, make you are already famous, so make your own quote.
okay. I've been thinking about this today, but I don't know how to say it in Spanish or Malayalam. Um, let me look it up. Maybe you can tell me how to say it in French.
You can say it in French.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So, no, I'm going to say it in Spanish. You can say it in French and then teach me. Okay. Vive como si fueras a vivir por la eternidad. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Now you can say it in
um,
English too after you say it in
in,
Spanish.
yeah. So I wrote down live like you're going to live for eternity. Um, this is what happened when I was in prayer. I've been thinking about all these different ways to be a better senior citizen, like what are the changes that I have to make now so that I have a better 70s, better 80s, better 90s if I lived for that long, better quality of life. And so, but then I realized that actually, I believe, like, the Catholic Church teaches us that we are eternal beings. So even when we pass away, we do not go. You, Regina, is an eternal being. You'll be here for eternity, even though you don't have a physical body anymore. So I'm thinking so I started thinking about what are the things I need to do. What is the kind of eternal being I would like to be, Yeah.
So, what kind of eternal being would you like to be?
I mean, someone that you'd want to be around for eternity, including myself. Like, would I want to be around myself for eternity? Like, that's a question I ask. I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Okay. I like the quote. I like the quote, live like you gonna live for eternity, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I like that quote a lot. I like it. And so I'm gonna go like quote unquote Dhivya. And
So
so
how do you say
repeat.
that in French? How do you say that in
I will try to say it. Ver comment tu allais vivre pour l'éternité.
Say that again?
Ver comment tu allais vivre pour l'éternité.
Where, comer,
Ver comment tu allais vivre pour l'éternité.
eternity. How do you say eternity in French?
Unité. Unité.
Indite.
Oui. So yeah, there we go. Ver comment tu allais vivre pour unité. Alright, so okay, so thank you so much for allowing TTIN to capture your now, because it was very, very amazing. It was great, and whichever path that you embark on, TTIN will love to go ahead and catch up again to see how things are going within 10 or 20 years from now. That'd be so
When I'm
good.
50. Yeah. Ask my 50-year-old self.
And so we can take a look back and look at how 20 years ago you were saying the same thing. Then so maybe all these questions that you're asking yourself now,
Yeah.
20 years later, we'll be able to answer. That should be the goal. We'll try to give a question and see how she answered that.
Yeah.
So happy and grateful that we're able to make it happen, make the time to be.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity for me to just share. And also for just doing this podcast. I think it's so great that you're doing this.
Thank you. So without further ado, TTIN, what did it say? The time is now to make a difference. Do not allow anybody to make you feel like you're not worth it. Live like you're living for eternity.
Yeah.
And so without further ado, TTIN would love to thank Dhivya. Can you tell us your whole name, Dhivya?
Dhivya Pattaniyil.
Dhivya Pattaniyil, for allowing us to capture her now, because the time is now for you to make a difference, for you to be the best you that you can ever be, no matter what situation that you're in. Just know the time is now.